Tuesday's Tips and Tricks.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Tuesday's Tips and Tricks. I'm Chelsea.
I'm Nathaniel.
And today we're talking about general rose care. So that means we're going to be talking about where to plant them, how to feed them, what to feed them, how to deadhead them.
Rose diseases and pests,
So let's get to it.
First we're going to talk about where you should place a rose in your landscape or yard if you're buying a new rose. That's really important. It's probably the #1 thing that's going to help you to avoid ever having to deal with a disease or a major pest problem on your roses. Roses like full sun, heavy soil that holds nutrients but drains or gets dried out. So they like clay, but it can't be boggy, muddy all the time. If you have sandy soil, give them some compost so that they get some nutrient retained in that soil. If you give us a rose lots of sun and lots of airflow, you probably will almost never have a problem with it.
So next after that, you deal with feeding them. We sell this type David Austin rose food. Basically, you just need any kind of general rose food or even just general shrub fertilizer. And you're just gonna follow the directions on the back. It's pretty simple.
Yep.
Follow it, put it in there, water it, it's gonna be great. And this will keep them blooming, keep them healthy, and looking nice all season. And if you want more information about fertilizer, you can look at our other video about fertilizing your plants. Next up is pests.
Pests. So the next thing you might deal with roses, it's not uncommon, is to get some type of pest, usually aphids, sometimes mealybugs, but typically in the spring, right as they start to grow out on the new growth tips, you'll get some aphids. They were pretty bad this year. The rains pretty much washed all those away. But if you still are having aphid issues, I would recommend
the all-powerful neem oil.
That'll This will take care of aphids. It'll also take care of fungal diseases. Roses are known for getting fungal problems. Now, if you have something like a drift rose or a knockout, you're probably not going to get fungal diseases. But if you do, I would again go to the neem oil because it's a suffocant, so it kills the fungus just like it kills the pests. Again, like I said, if you put the rose in the right place, you'll have a lot less issues.
And if you don't already have neem oil in your shed, you should get some. It's good for all things. House plants, plants outside, you name it, put neem oil on it.
It's natural, it's not going to hurt you or kids or pets or wildlife either.
Just smells a little musty.
Yep.
But so does your shed, so who cares? Next up in the general rose care is deadheading. So basically, after your flower is basically finished, so it did its pretty thing and it's starting to decay and look kind of nasty, you're gonna deadhead. If the other blooms around it are finished, otherwise I would wait. When all the blooms are finished, you're gonna follow the stem down to there's usually 3 leaves right below it. Then there's gonna be one that has 5.
Further down the stem.
Yeah, and you're gonna cut it back to there. You can cut it back further to maintain the shape of the plant, which we recommend, because sometimes you'll get a plant that sends up this huge stalk and has a big, beautiful flowers, and then there's just random stalks sticking up straight up, and it looks really, really goofy. So cut it back to the 5 and back to the shape, and it's pretty simple. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, and that 5-leaf cut promotes a sturdier stem for the next bloom. If you cut to the 3 leaves, a lot of times you'll get this skinny little stem and then it bows over when it gets a big heavy flower on it.
So that's your basic rose care. If you don't have any roses and you want to have some, come into Scenic. We have every kind of rose you could possibly think of. They're coming out our ears. Please come and buy some. A lot of times people have this preconception of roses that they are hard to take care of, and that just simply is not necessarily true. There's some that are easier than others.
So there's a lot of different types of roses. Roses are not all created equal, and many of them are very easy. And even the more challenging ones, like I said earlier, given the right conditions from the start, really are not that hard to do. Your hard roses are going to be like your Floribundas and your hybrid teas. Now these are the ones that get the big, huge flowers that are like single stalked. That's a single flower rose. That's your hybrid teas. Floribundas will bloom in clusters. And the only thing that makes them harder for the most part is that they can be more susceptible to fungal diseases. And then because those big flowers, you need to be on fertilizing more on top of it. On the other end of that spectrum, you've got things like drift roses and knockout roses, which we have quite a few of, and those are super easy. I mean, almost bulletproof. They don't need a lot of care. They can be planted into a parking lot landscape and do great on asphalt. They're just really tough, durable plants, are very low demand. You don't even have to deadhead them to keep them blooming. But it will be much cleaner looking if you do. It gets
Yes.
kind of gross looking if you leave all those dead flowers on there. And then right in the middle you have, there's a variety of roses that fit in the middle too that aren't real hard, but maybe need a little bit more care. And that David Austin roses, which is a variety we sell, well, series, we sell lots of varieties of them.
So you'll get those big blooms.
Yes.
But you won't have to deal with
As
all
much
of the excess.
disease,
Yeah.
They are less susceptible to disease. They're a little less demanding on feeding, although they do like it. They're just a little tougher than your hybrid teas or floribundas. So really, roses aren't too bad. The number one thing is setting them up for success from the beginning, and you'll do great with them.
So if you want some easy roses, come into Scenic. We have some here, and
Yeah.
we'll get you whatever color you want. We almost have all the colors. So, well, that's your Tuesday's tips and tricks. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or come in and talk to us. We'd be happy
Yeah.
to help you. We'll see you next week.